Hello and welcome back to Slot Car Garage. On a previous episode, I showed this Slot.it McLaren F1 I got from Ralph over at Race Band Hobbies in the Netherlands. This will be episode 1, I guess, when we take it apart. It'll be multiple episodes. I've got to chip it, and then I'll have to put lights in it, so it'll be a multi-part deal getting this onto the track and completed. But we'll start today by opening her up and having a look inside. As you can see, it even came with a different chassis. It has an inline setup to start with, but it's got a chassis here for a angle winder setup, which I prefer anyway, so this saves me from having to buy another chassis. But as you can see, this one also has knockouts, so you could use either or just keep one as a spare. That's pretty nice right there. But I assumed this was a used car because it came from a big collection he had. It's hard to tell if it's, the last one I saw was used a little. This one, it's hard to tell looking at the tires. They don't look very worn. He's got new braids in it, but we'll crack her open and have a look inside. But on the outside, you can see how just beautiful this Gulf paint scheme is on this car. I can't wait to see the inside of how I'm going to illuminate this. Well, I go with, if it's even possible, it depends on how the internals look, but I can see this is 2 white headlights in each, or maybe a white and a yellow headlight on each side. Lots of options to go with there. And nice, I could see 5 brake lights on this one. 1 in the center, and 1 for each round tail light. I could even see putting the flashing exhaust chips into those exhaust ports. Oh, so let's just open her up, see what we get. I don't even think this looks. That's one out. What about that other one? See a screw in there? I don't know. Should be a screw in there. I'm not feeling it. Doesn't seem like there is one. Looks like it's a missed screw, but it's tight up here on the front. Oh, there we go. There it is, up underneath the guide. How about that? All right. Looking inside, it looks pretty darn clean. Either this wasn't really driven much, or it was really cleaned well before selling it. I have no idea what motor that is. Well, we'll see how it runs first. I may swap that out with something nicer, but a lot of opportunities to upgrade here. These, let's see what wheels we got here. Those are interesting. It looks aluminum. Either that's painted aluminum. Yeah, it's painted aluminum. Those are the standard slotted aluminum wheels. So that should go with the standard tires I put on that, which I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll have to go look at my books and see what tires I put on these slotted wheels. But that looks like a standard slotted wheel. It's just been painted orange. Yeah, that's certainly aluminum in the back. It looks plastic up front, and it's got a silver color to it, but that's most certainly plastic there. So we got plastic up front, aluminum wheels in the back. inline setup to start with, but yeah, we'll see how she runs. I kind of like the sidewinders, but the chip will have to set up in here, and I'll be putting a hole over here for the LED, or the IR diode for the digital part. Nice basic car. And of course it is gorgeous. Let's look at those lights. If we look at the headlights here, that should transmit very nicely. I can put a chip right in front of each of those posts. That should give us some nice headlights. Looks like there's some plastic here that could transmit some parking or driving lights. A little bit of color there up front. We can see what we can do with that. Then let's look at the tail lights. That may interfere with the chip. I hope not. Let's see. That'll be close. I should be able to get it in. Should be able to get it in. If we look at the tail lights, they've got some covers here. You can see there's a cover there. The LEDs, the clear plastic is there. Looks like that's maybe clear on the outside. I may have to use a red LED for that and just a normal for here. But I'm going to have to take those covers off. And I don't know if that's going to destabilize the plastic inserts or not, but once we get in there, we'll see what happens. It looks like they may even be part of that. But where there's a will, there's a way. Those have to be illuminated, so we will figure out a way, one way or another. But that's going to be quite the car. Well, here we are post-conversion. I'll show you what I've done to get it ready for the digital track. One of the first things I did was change out the guide to a Slot.it Frankenslot guide. You can see it's been chipped. I had to drill the hole here for the IR diode. For the motor, the Carrera track and other tracks, the positive rails are opposite. So if you were to just hook it up normally, the way it's original on a Slot.it car, this thing would run backwards. So with this, the left post being the positive, I just had to reverse it, how it connects to the positive and negatives on the chip. You know, it's normally this would be the positive, and that would connect to the positive wire from the chip. Since this was positive, it went to the positive wire on the chip. And then, as we know, since this was the positive side coming down for regular, this here becomes the positive post for the motor. So simple, once you just swap the leads off the braids. As you can see, there's the Slot.it chip, which is my favorite chip for doing this work with. I have left the magnets and everything else alone. I've put on the tires and trued them up. I got some pictures there of how I did that. You could do it with one and just check it with some digital calipers. I checked them before, but just for a different way of doing it this time, I left a stock tire on one side and the new tire on here and put it on the tire truer and ran it till the stock tire just started to touch the sandpaper. Then I swapped it with the other tire and ground them down even. So it's got the same low set that the stock tires have. But again, you could just check the diameter with the digital calipers and then just keep checking it as you run it on the tire truer. But either way works just fine. I have glued the leads down for the braids to the chip. It makes it ready to run. I always have a little trouble with these braids making contact. Takes a little bit of work to get those right. I may drop the guide a little bit more.
Just put a little spacer in there to get some better contact. But it runs good. I just run it with the chassis. I put the body on it, because the next thing I'm going to have to do then is illuminate the chassis, which will be part 2 of this. I'll illuminate the chassis, and then I'll track it. So in the earlier I mentioned the covers. Well, I did get the cover off. It's a one and done thing. It's not going back on there until you glue it back on. But this was a mesh cover across the back here, across this back, and it had a backing across the lights. These end pieces were across the lights, but that way you can't illuminate them, so that had to come off. So we have 2 lights on each side and a light in the middle. I'll use that as an auxiliary brake light probably. One here is clear and the other's red, so I will have to probably use at least one red LED on each side to make that look normal. I can use a white LED behind the red plastic, because that'll illuminate red. But with this white one, well, we don't want that. So that's how that's going to be. With the front, I've checked it. The light comes through these posts here just fine. I'll point to those easier here. Like that post. Let's see if we can get it to focus. That post and that post there will transmit the headlight lights just fine. And this plastic here, this little strip, will illuminate right here as well. So I haven't sure what I'm going to do yet. I may do whites on the outsides and yellows in the center, and then illuminate the slits with orange fog lights. I can get 6 per connector on the chip, so that's what I might do with the headlights. And then we're looking at 5 lights to light up the tail. So that will be the next project, and that will be part 2, the part 2 video, illuminating this, and then we'll lap it and see how well she does. Well, I thought we were going to make this a 2-part video, but I kind of got the itch to go ahead and get this car done, because I just was really interested in playing with the lights. So I went and I had one other video I was working on, and then just went right back to this one. So as I showed before, I've got the chip installed, the new Frankenslot guide flag. I've done the tires, got them all ground down so they're very low to the body, or low to the frame. And then I have stills, which I'll show here in just a second. I'll go ahead and post the stills at this point. And that's basically how I handled the install of the lights. So I've got fog lights and dual headlights. Just for the fun of it, I did a yellow light on the insides and whites on the out after they were glued into place. Then I came over with the liquid tape, the liquid electrical tape, and blacked all that out so you don't get the light bleed. I did the same with the rears. I trimmed and glued the grate back across. I was going to put a tail light here, but when I was testing it, there was just not that much light transition. Another thing I had to do, because these outside ones are kind of clear, and the inside dot of each, there's a little opening on the inside of each center light, and it was transmitting clear. And it's hard to get red lights. It's hard to get red LEDs to shine. You usually have to, I even did that just to get the colors to look better, is to paint them. And red doesn't do that well with the painting. But I took some translucent red paint and painted the insides of the lights, and I also painted over some of the lights that go back there, and that it reduced the brightness a bit because they were kind of bright, but it cleaned it up and made everything red, so the tail lights look like they should. So that kind of slowed things down. But I've already gone ahead and put in the wiring, and I've attached the leads that go to the chip. These will come forward like so, and then wrap around and plug into the chip. I like using it can be a little painful when you put the body on, but I like the longer leads, so it makes it easier getting the body off if you want to work on it. You have some room with the leads to just lay it there, rather than trying to, you've got the body just barely up and you're trying to get in here to get these leads off a chip. It's very difficult. So those longer leads make it easier to get the body on and off to work on the car, as well as just to remove it completely. So the lights are done, and we are going to put her on the track and see what we get out of her. I was pretty excited when I just gave it a couple test laps, so I'm looking how she's going to look all done. So let's put it on the track and see what we got. Back at the track, we've got the McLaren put into Smart Race. We've got it cast to the big screen. I have to admit, I'm really happy with these slotted cars. I mean, I only have a couple, basically because most of the models they put out I just don't like. The LMP class and some of that stuff. They have a little bit, just very little in the GT category, but their chassis design, the way the cars perform out of the box is just fabulous. You know, once you get them, all I really have to do is put the tires, true the tires up and get them, you know, ground down to about the specs of the stock tires, and these cars just perform wonderfully. Of course, I have to chip them and light them and all that, but when I do find a slotted car that I like, they're awesome. So we're gonna see how this one does.
3, 2, 1, go!
Yeah, I think we'll stop it there. That's about what we're going to get out of that car. Pretty pleased with it. Runs quite nicely. I think if I tune it up the way I did the Slot.it Maserati, she might come in probably top of the list. Right now we're looking at about a 6.275. That'll put it up there pretty high. Probably in the, well, it's going to be in the Porsche area, but I think that car has a lot of time you can take off. I mean, while the Carrera cars have both magnets in the middle and the rear, these Slot.its are just running with a rear magnet. So if I tune it up like the other cars, it's likely going to be up there in probably the top 3. But a lot of potential there. Really pleased with it. We're going to put it into the spreadsheet and see just where she landed. Here's the look of the McLaren on the spreadsheet. You can see it clocks in at a respectable 14th. The other Slot.it car, the Maserati, is still up there at number 2. But like I said, with a good bit of tweaking, well, not a good bit, just a little bit of tweaking, it can easily be in the top 3. A great car, super happy with it, and I've already placed orders for some more Slot.it McLarens. So that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching.